time for the final race of the day, with the second race of the European Moto2 Championship about to get underway, and we'll soon find out if anyone's been able to make an improvement from this morning for race 2. In this morning's race, it was Fermin Aldeguer that was able to come out on top. He was able to pick up a race victory from his teammate Alonso Lopez as the Boscoscuro boys dominated proceedings in the Moto2 class. The Moto2 European Championship splits the field into 2 classes, with more than a dozen Superstock 600 bikes out there as well. Welcome back to Estoril for the final race of the day. Steve English and Kiko Giles here. And Kiko, we saw in Moto2 already today, the Boscoscuro bikes just seem like they've got that little bit of an edge. Really impressive performance from Fermin Aldeguer to be able to pick up his first ever Moto2 race victory.
Boscoscuro, I think we can say it was a dominant 1-2 in the end from them. Aldeguer and Lopez 1 and 2. It was a great last lap battle as well between the pair of them. And I think we can expect more of the same. Of course, Lukas Tulovic will be out to make a statement, I think, after that big high side we saw in race 1. And talking of race 1, here it is. Here are some of the best moments.
There you have the action from race 1 today. Fermin Aldeguer able to basically run mistake-free all the way through that race, while Alonso Lopez made a mistake on the last lap that opened the door for his teammate. We also saw Lukas Tulovic with a very big mistake, Kiko, and very costly for him as well. Around about 2/3 through the race, that high side. Yeah, just pushing on at the time as well, Steve. He just started to come back into it, and a mistake early on in that lap, and then a big one later on in that lap on the exit of turn 7. The rear end stepped out. He went over the handlebars. He was up straight away. He wanted to get back in the race, but it wasn't possible. But it did allow his teammate, Adam Norridin, onto the podium. And first podium for Norridin, is as well as a 1-2 for the Boscoscuros out front. Yeah, you can see there Fermin Aldeguer on the 54. And for Aldeguer, really was a very impressive performance. He's going to start from the middle of the front row with Lukas Tulovic once again on pole position on the back of what he was able to do yesterday. Now, Tulovic has an awful lot of experience, Kiko. He's got over 50 Grand Prix starts in the Moto2 class, and he needs to make a step forward. This man, Fermin Aldeguer, on the other hand, doesn't have that kind of experience. He made his Moto2 debut today.
I'm Fermin Aldeguer. I am the champion of the Superstock 600. After these 2 days of the free practice, I'm really happy. here I always make good result, and yes, for me it's a good track. My goals is win the championship and try to win the all race. It's very important all team, the mechanic and the technical and the rider. We have all. I think that can win.
There you go, Fermin Aldeguer, race winner this morning, now trying to back that up in race 2. And Kiko, it's going to be interesting to see how he can deal with that kind of pressure as well.
Absolutely, you know, he's a race winner now, and he's got to back that up, really. And that is the expectation with Aldeguer. We know he's fast, we know he's got the pace. Did we expect him to win a Moto2 race in his debut? Probably not. Are we amazingly surprised? Not at all. The same as we're not surprised that this man is on pole around Estoril, Lukas Tulovic.
Yeah, Tulovic always goes well here in Estoril. This is his second pole position in the Moto2 class, both of them here in Estoril. He's been a podium finisher here as well, Kiko, but that mistake, it was costly.
That would have been a podium as well earlier on, and you've got to think that someone with Tulovic's experience wouldn't have made such an error. It's only the first race of this season. He is a championship contender if you can string a good, consistent season together. You can't win the title in race 1, but you can lose the title in race 1.
Well, for Tulovic, he's only 20 years of age. It's easy to have that little bit of inexperience or a little bit of youth that
youthful exuberance
just tends to lead to some mistakes there. But hopefully we're able to see him bounce back in this race, because he does have good pace all the way through. His pole lap was fantastic, but this man, Fermin Aldeguer, he didn't put a foot wrong during the course of the opening race of the season. Last year in the Stock 600 class, he was able to be the Stock 600 champion, but he was actually outscored in overall points by Alex Toledo, so it shows just how deep that Stock 600 class is. Yeah,
the Stock 600 class is packed, but Aldeguer managing to find some form right when it mattered at the second half of the season, really, and now, like we say, he's come in as a Moto2 racer when he goes from the middle of that front row in second place, heads up his teammate as well.
Yeah, Alonso Lopez on the outside of the front row. Here is the number 21. Lopez was really strong in race 1 as well, just made a mistake on the last lap into the hairpin and wasn't able to recover from that, but at least he looks really good on the Moto2 bike.
He looks very accomplished on the Moto2 bike. Aldeguer is only 16, Lopez is only 19. Very, very young team, as you'd expect in CEV Moto2. But Lopez looking to try and put one over his teammate again if he can.
Yeah, and on the second row of the grid, we're going to see Adam Norden in a couple of moments' time. You mentioned it earlier on, Kiko, there. Fresh from his first podium in the CEV Moto2 class. It was a lonely race in race 1 for him. He had a big gap behind him, a big gap in front of him, but at least he was able to come away with that podium. That's a monkey off his back.
It's a monkey off his back, and he knew he could achieve it. It's just about putting all of it together. Okay, he got fortunate his teammate threw himself to the moon, but Norden didn't. He kept it upright, kept it on the island, and he brought it home for third.
Yeah, and he did a really good job during that race. He was able to hold off the likes of Kem Kubo was in the group behind them, but a big gap back to the Thai rider. And we also had Taiga Hada in the middle of that group as well. He came away with a top 6 finish, and last year, Kiko, he was able to have, I think, a 6th place finish as his best result here in Estoril. So, you know, he goes well at this track. Now he wants to try and build on that.
And he was a race leader in race 1, and that's really important. And he was a race leader. He got past at turn 6 and fought straight back at the next corner. So we know he has got the pace if he can just convert it and make it a little bit more sustained throughout the duration of the race. He will be a contender for the podium for sure.
Didn't quite get a good look at who that was down there. Could have been Razlan maybe,
Mazzani, yeah.
Coming in obviously for the World Championship there in action just up the road in Jerez next weekend. So clearly staying on in Portugal after Portimao last week. Here is Hada, and on that number 23 machine, he's been able to do a good job this weekend. It's going to be interesting to see if he can really build on it, like you were saying, Kiko. He's been able to be in that second group. We saw Kem Kubo in that group as well. It was quite competitive. We also had the likes of Dimas and also Biasakowski in that group as well. So it has been quite competitive in that second group, but it looks like it's not going to be a battle for the podium unless we have a repeat of what happened with the likes of Lukas Tulovic.
Exactly. I think Tulovic will make a step, and the good thing is between race 1 and 2, everyone's going to be making those little steps. This is Peter Biszakirski. He will be looking to make a step as well. He's quite accomplished now in the top 6, top 7, so whether or not they make big steps or incremental steps that lead to an overall improvement, at the end of the race, we'll see.
Yeah, last year was the best form we've seen from him in the CEV Moto2 class. He also stepped up to the World Championship as well for the second half of the season and used that experience really well. Here's Kem Kubo as well, another top 5 finish for Kubo. He did that quite a lot last year as well, and looks, Kiko, like he's been able to make another step.
He has made another step. The thing is, he's not really been at Estoril for very long. You know, he's not got the experience of some of the European riders, and the Thai rider for sure is going to be a spoiler there. If he can make it like into the top group like he couldn't in race 1, then I think we'll see some fireworks, because he's sideways on most of the time. Here's
Andy Verdoya as well. He came away with a top 10 finish in race 1, but for Verdoya, definitely opportunity gone missing as well. He's been fast this weekend though, Kiko. Moto2 debut for the former Supersport race winner. Yeah,
Moto2 debut and a solid start to his campaign in 10th place, but he knows he can do more. He knows he's more of a top 5 runner, as previous years have shown in Supersport 300 and World Supersport.
Yeah, and here's Alex as well, our top 600 rider in race 1 as well, and former Red Bull Rookies podium man. He's got some speed, and now he's trying to make sure he's able to adapt well to a stock 6 bike.
Yeah, Screed's got plenty of speed. He was top in the first race earlier today, and he was actually holding off a couple of the Moto2 riders, so it's we'll definitely see a bit more of him as the season goes on, but it is all about the Moto2 class, really.
Yeah, and here's our pole sitter, Lucas Tolovic. He crashed out of race 1, and now he needs to try and make sure he gets points on the board in race 2. Steve English and Kiko Giles here at Estoril for the final race of the day. It's the second race of the Moto2 European Championship, and the competition looks very hot in the Moto2 Championship this year, and it could get even better in race 2, because in the opening race of the weekend we saw Lucas Tolovic, our pole sitter, crash out at 2/3 distance. Hopefully he's able to stay in this lead battle, because Fermin Aldegier and Alonso Lopez, very impressive in race 1 with nice consistent pace. Tolovic needs to get in there, Kiko.
He really does, and Tulovic, he's got to get in there from the start. He can't allow the Bosco Oscuro bikes to make a little gap at the front, or, you know, just break it up. You know, another thing that he's got to be wary of is his teammate Norodin. Norodin is now a believer. He can get a podium, and he'll be looking to do it on merit and not just inherit it from his teammate like he did in race 1.
Yeah, he said that Norodin's got the monkey off his back after that podium. Let's see what he can do now with that weight off, because suddenly, like you said, Kiko, he'll have the belief that he can get himself into those battles, and suddenly you can make that little step forward. But for Norodin, certainly, maybe not today we're going to see that, but over the course of the season he might be able to make a little bit of progress. But right now it is certainly those 3 riders in the front row. You can see Alonso Lopez nearest us, Fermin Aldegier, and then the pole sitter Lucas Tolovic out there. They are the 3 class acts right now.
They are. One thing to keep in your mind as this race goes on, or especially at the start of the race, is that Tiger Harder is always a fast starter. So he goes from the middle of row 2 on 5th on the grid. He was a race leader in race 1. He did get the whole shot down to turn 1, so be interesting to see if he can replicate it. Conditions perfect for racing, Steve. We have not seen a spot of rain more or less all day, and that's something that the forecast did not predict accurately. So dry running throughout the whole course of the day, which is a massive bonus.
Yeah, 5 races where we expected to have quite a lot of rain. The only thing we had was a few spots during the opening Moto2 race. Didn't really cause any impact, and we've had really good weather. We've been blessed this weekend, because it really did have the forecast of 3 days of rain here in Portugal, and instead Friday was very wet, but Saturday and Sunday were pretty much about as good as we could do. And Kiko, for these riders, 18 laps, what's the best thing that some of these guys can do? Aldegier, of course, race winner in race 1, needs to try and back that up. Does he need to win this race, or is another podium a good result?
Well, I don't think he needs to win it right now. Of course, the season is long. It would be a big bonus, but I think a podium, a race win and a podium, is a very solid start to his campaign. Having said that, Alonso Lopez is going to be very, very fast this year. Can you afford to give 5 points away to him? Probably not. If it's Tulovic, probably doesn't matter so much at this stage. Tulovic crashed out of race 1. He's not got any points on the board, but your teammate has. And you don't want that pendulum with inside that Bosco Oscuro Moto2 team to swing over to the other side of the garage, you want to keep it firmly in your half.
Yeah, certainly for Boscoscuro. So Boscoscuro, they were the speed-up team last year that won the championship with Yari Montella. I'm struggling here. I'm just excited for the end of this day racing here in Moto 2. But they were the team that won the championship last year, and certainly right now they've set themselves up really well at the start of this season. They're the team to beat in this championship, and they look like they've got 2 riders to beat. That's why it's really important for Alonso Lopez on the 21 to be able to come in and get a good result.
Just a quick shout for the British fans out there. Sam Wilford, 8th place, solid start to his season. He goes from a little further down the order, 14th on the grid, but keep an eye on the big bad Wilf, number 35, carving his way through the field, hopefully.
Yeah, keep an eye on the pole position now as well, because we're just about to see the number 3 of Lucas Tolovic come through to take up his grid spot. We've got the 21 of Alonso Lopez, the 54 of Firmin Aldeguer, race winner this morning, and then the pole sitter is Lucas Tulovic as well. Tulovic with a lot of experience, but crashed out of race 1. We're getting ready for 18 laps of Moto 2 action. And we're underway, and it looks like Tulovic has made a good start. It looks like from the second row of the grid, though, once again, we've got a few fast starters. The 23 of Hada took the lead in race 1. Looks like he's been able to do it in race 2 as well. Look at Kubo as well on the number 9, trying to just slide his way down the inside. And it looks like one of the Boscoscuro bikes has lost a lot of ground. It looks like it's Alonso Lopez that's going to have to recover from about 7th or 8th position.
Yeah, Lopez got a terrible start. I think he's further down than 8. Looks like he's about 11th. So Lopez, he has got an absolute job on here in the afternoon of the Moto 2 race 2. Out front, no, Tiger Harder looking very good at the moment. We've seen it before.
Yeah, how many times in Moto 2 have we seen riders make a bad start and not recover from it? Alonso Lopez, he needs to dig in, make some clean moves nice and quickly at the start of this race. Andy Verdoy on the 25, he's made a decent start as well. He's a few places up in front of Alonso Lopez. At the front of the field, though, it is still Tiger Harder leading the way, and the 54 Firmin Aldeguer. You can see Kuba there, big slide on the entry into turn 6. Has he been able to get that bike stopped and hold on to that position? It's going to be a challenge for Kuba.
Yeah, he's got to try and run with Aldeguer and learn from Aldeguer. You know, Kubo backing it in everywhere, really. He's not the neatest of riders. He's spectacular to watch, but he's not the neatest. So coming up to the chicane for the first time then, leading is Harder. Then it is Aldeguer. Oh, someone was out of shape.
Twitch. It looked like it might have been the 74 of Peter that's been a little bit out of shape. But you can see there for the 21 of Lopez, he's not making that quick progress. He's still behind Alex Toledo there, so needs to make quick progress now in this opening lap. Otherwise, those race leaders are going to be out of touch.
He's behind Skrieg, who's the stock 600 runner. He's the top stock 600 runner. So Lopez, he's got an absolute awful start, diabolical almost. Off the track was Tulovic on the exit of the final corner, but it's Slipstream City, Harder versus Aldeguer. And what about Tulovic? Going a long way round, not on the braking area with Aldeguer. Aldeguer leads.
Aldeguer able to get that bike stopped, really strong in the brakes all the way through this weekend. That seems to be one of the fortes for him, like it was in the stock 600 bike. It looks like we might have seen a little bit of progress further back for Alonso Lopez. He looks like he's into the top 8 now, but he's got a lot of ground to make up in the early stages.
There's a lot of riders packing out the places between the first Boscoscuro and the next Boscoscuro. I'm talking about Aldeguer and Lopez. Strew on the inside. Oh no, Harder had to think about it, couldn't make it happen. It's second place still to Tulovic.
For Lopez on the 21, he's got to be thinking right now, this is damage limitation. That might only be 20 points, but if he's able to do that, he's at least being able to stem the bleeding after that really bad start. You can see him there at the top of the screen, trying to make his move to 21, just dives down the inside of Andy Verdoy, able to pick off Verdoy, so at least he's been able to move himself up into 7th spot. But it's so easy to give up too much ground, particularly when Aldeguer was as consistent as he was in this morning's sessions.
Well, Aldeguer was the main threat to his main threat was Lopez, and Lopez is so far down the order, he isn't going to be his main threat at least for another few laps yet. If he gets there through on the inside, goes Bishakirski, gets it done on Norodin, so Norodin goes back a place. Pete the Pole moves up into the top 5 places, but at the front it's still Aldeguer and Tulovic, and Tiger Harder, impressive there. He's not been dropped. I know we're only on the second lap, but he's not been dropped. He looks like he's running the pace for now, and he's there in 3rd.
Yeah, with that fresh tyre, the number 23 doing a good job to be able to hold with the race leaders. Typically in this class, we see that after about 4 laps, that's when we get that big drop-off, and that's suddenly whenever we can tend to see the field stretch out a little bit. But as it is right now, it is the 54 leading the way. Tulovic there on the number 3 in 2nd spot, keeping that watching brief, and it looks like Alonso Lopez might have been able to make another bit of progress. He might be up into the top 6 spots now, and certainly for Lopez, he needs to make make these moves clean. He's actually picked off another rider into turn 1, so he's up into the top 5 in front of Norridin. Now he needs to close that gap on Kem Kubo, but it is a challenge for him, Kiko, because out in front we know Aldegier is going to run fast pace. Already a 41.9 from Aldegier.
Yeah, that's straight down. That is hammered down from the off. I mean, we've seen Lopez, you know, they toyed a bit with each other in race 1, but I don't think that's going to be the dynamic in this race at all, Steve. I honestly think that Aldeguer, he's got the pace. Lopez got bogged right down. There's so many riders he's got to deal with. He's dealt with some of them already. He's inside the top 5, but we know Kenneth Kubo is not the easiest of riders to pass. When he does clear him, which I'm sure he will, well, that's when we'll see Lopez's true pace. And if he's quicker than Aldeguer, then maybe we have a race on.
Lopez is a lot faster than the riders around him, but he's given up 2.5 seconds to his teammate already. He needs to make the move on Kubo into the chicane, otherwise he just keeps giving up too much ground. You can see at the front of the field, the leading 3 are already stretching out.
There's
Lopez is through into the chicane. He's up into P4. He's recovered well in these opening laps. He's moved from 10th up to 4th position. The gap between himself and those podium riders is round about 1.5 seconds right now. Let's have a look at the replay at the start. Keep an eye on the 21 on the outside of the front row.
Yeah, he just gets a really horrible first phase of the start, and then Hara comes and wipes his nose for him as if that wasn't enough. And then before anything's really happened, I mean, you can see how far back to 21. He's got Toledo to his left, and I think he's got a Skrieg coming up on his right. Then he runs in wide. Then they all cut under him, and by that point you're already squeezed on the exit of turn 1, and you're fighting just to get track position for turn 2. It's an awful getaway. I mean, on all accounts there, not a textbook start by any stretch of the imagination from Lopez, but a perfect start from Aldeguer. He fought his way back through, didn't get too rash, and now he's pulling away at 41.6. But Tulovic, you've got to think, I don't think Tulovic is done just yet. I mean, he's about 0.5 seconds off, but he's not dropping back like we've seen him in the past before. He's not dropping off the edge of a cliff.
Yeah, and certainly for Aldegier off the line, he was able to be quite strong all the way through the start. It looked like his teammate Lopez, initially as the lights went out, actually made a good start, but then maybe just as he released the clutch and starts to pick up speed, that's where it looked like they had a bit of a problem. But certainly for Lopez, he's now got his work to do. He's got 1.7 seconds to make up on Taiga Hara. Last time around, though, he was faster than everyone on track except for the race leader, Firmin Aldegier, but now he's got a little bit of clear track in front of him. Let's see what he's able to do on this lap from 4th position. As it is, he's given up another couple of tenths of a second on this lap, so a lot of work to be done for Alonso Lopez as we move into the middle third of this race. But Lopez, he's got a mountain to climb.
He's got a mountain to climb, but let's hope that the higher the mountain, the higher he climbs. I mean, if he can salvage second from where he is at the moment, it's a very, very good performance indeed, considering he started 3rd as well, and considering that he was Firmin Aldeguer's main rival in the first race. So let's see what he can do. This is the first lap where we will see where he is strong and how fast he is. He set a fastest sector 3 of everyone, so Lopez has got the pace. It's whether or not he can do it.
Tulovic has got the pace as well. Fastest lap of the race from Tulovic, a couple of tenths of a second faster than the race leader. Lopez, though, he was round about 1/10 of a second faster than Aldegier, so he has got a little bit of potential, but he's still got ground to make up. 1.4 seconds to Taiga Hara. Hara's starting to get dropped now at this stage.
The problem for Lopez is that, you know, he's relying on someone to really interfere with Aldeguer's race because he's so far back. He needs another 5 laps before he's probably going to be on terms with Taiga Hara. So if Tulovic can get in Aldeguer's kind of rhythm and disrupt that a little bit, then Lopez might have a chance. But even Tulovic getting ahead of Aldeguer is not the most convincing thing at the moment, even if he does have the fastest lap.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it takes that long to be able to close up on Hara. You'd expect Hara's pace to drop off, Alonso to keep that consistent pace. But for Tulovic at this stage, he's doing a good job now. Needs to come away with this podium. He needs to come away with big points in this race after that crash in race 1. But right now, as we move into that middle third of the race, this is where he has to be. He just needs to make sure he's able to keep the race leader honest. The gap between Aldegier out in front and Alonso Lopez in 4th position, it's 2.6 seconds at this point. So Lopez has got quite a bit of ground to make up. Tough slog in Moto3 to make up that kind of ground.
Yeah, this isn't easy. You know, Lopez has really got to get the hammer down, and by doing that, he's going to have to wear his tyres out and then hope that he can still maintain that pace right to the end, and hope that he can sustain his own energy as well, because he's obviously working hard on the bike right now. For Aldeguer, the main thing he's got to do is just keep Tulovic at bay. I mean, 0.5 seconds is not, he's feeling pressure, but at this stage of the race, he's dealing with it relatively well.
Yeah, you mentioned maintaining your energy. He's also got to deal with the fact that he's got 2 races in a day. He's not used to that after being in the Moto3 World Championship. And for Alonso Lopez, you can see there he's already caught on to the back of Hada. Last time around, a second faster. And Alonso Lopez with the fastest lap of the race, again picked up another couple of tenths of a second on the race leader, Fermin Aldeguer, but he's still got a lot of ground to make up.
Yeah, he's got a lot of ground to make up. Maybe my 5 laps was a bit optimistic there, Steve.
It'll take another 5 corners to get through, I think, because down into turn 6, he's definitely going to make the move.
At this rate.
You can see with the 21 of Alonso Lopez, he's setting up the 23 of Taiga Hada now at this stage. He wants to make sure he's able to exit strong onto the back straight, use that slipstream, set the move up into turn 6 and make it nice and clean. Let's see if he's able to do that, because the 21 needs to make this move nice and quickly. He's going to try it. This is where he made his mistake in race 1, and he left that braking nice and late, forces Hada wide. That's good riding there from Alonso Lopez, second in the opening race of the weekend, and now up into the podium spots in this race. Last time around he had the fastest lap of the race. This time around he's still been able to make progress on Hada, but he has lost a little bit of ground to the race leader at the halfway stage of the lap, so still plenty of work to do to be able to try and get himself back onto terms. Yeah,
Tulovic has lost a little bit of ground to the race leader as well. It's very contrasting at different points of the track. Sector 1, Tulovic is much faster than Aldeguer most laps, but then Sector 2 comes and Aldeguer responds, and the same in Sector 3. Sector 3 and 4 is where Lopez is strong, so he's already in the podium places. Let's see if he can catch on with Tulovic. I'm not sure, with 13 laps to go, he can get near his teammate. I mean, let's see. Let's not make too many predictions right now. Let's see how it all unfolds. But at the moment, Aldeguer is doing what he needs to do.
Well, you can see there for Aldeguer, he's been given the pit board there, and as well as that, his teammate has as well. And Alonso Lopez certainly been given the encouragement to close down that gap. Last time around, having made the move on Hada, he was actually only a couple of hundredths of a second faster, but now he's got that clear track, needs to close up on Lukas Tulovic in front of him. It's around 1.7 seconds, so he is edging himself closer and closer, Kiko. Last time around he picked up a tenth of a second on Tulovic.
Exactly, and not only that, but he's also got a mistake from Aldeguer, and that has allowed Tulovic through. So Tulovic, that is exactly what Lopez needed. He needed someone to disrupt the rhythm of Aldeguer, and Tulovic, against what I said, has done it. What I was going to say before Tulovic did hit the front was that Lopez has now got a couple of good markers in front of him. He's got fast riders that he can try and match and follow through the corners. I mean, it's a bit of distance, we're not talking slipstream, but just a marker, just to keep tabs on and start to reel in a tenth or two in the middle part of this section. Look at Aldeguer, he's going on the outside, on the curb, any which way, but Tulovic will not allow it.
Yeah, the one thing for Alonso Lopez is, coming from the Grand Prix paddock, you have to be on it every single lap, so he's not going to give up at this early stage of the race. He knows there's an opportunity. He's seen this changing out in front of him now. He knows that he can get himself onto terms with this. The gap is coming down quickly as they start to fight. Tulovic doesn't have the ultimate pace of these two Boscoscuro bikes, so right now for Fermin Aldeguer, he's got to be in a position to attack down in towards turn 1.
And another problem for Aldeguer is that Tulovic hit the front in his strong sector, and he has kind of bottled Aldeguer in the second and third sector, which is where the number 54 has been so strong, and it's where Lopez has also been so strong. The problem is Aldeguer can't run at his maximum pace, but Lopez can, because he's got that breathing room. The gap is under a second.
Aldeguer always really strong on the brakes as well, so down in towards turn 1 we know he's going to be good. Down into turn 6 he's going to be good. For Tulovic, he's been able to find something from race 1 to race 2, and now he needs to make sure he's able to keep building on this. The pace last time around, you can see Aldeguer with that mistake that led to Tulovic getting through. That's allowed Lopez to close right up. He pulled in a second and a half. His pace is really consistent. Yes. It was really consistent in race 1 as well, and he's just going to keep grinding out. He's going to keep hitting his markers. So if you're Fermin Aldeguer, you've now got to make sure you're able to make the move as quickly as possible on Lukas Tulovic. We saw into turn 6, that's where Lopez made the move a couple of laps ago to get into the podium spots. His teammate's going to try and do it now as well. Fermin Aldeguer trying to get that inside line, but Tulovic leaves the braking really late on the run into turn 6, and that's been able to keep that race lead. Just seeing as well that Alex Perez on the Superstock bike has just retired with mechanical issues down at turn 6, so maybe there was a yellow flag out there for Aldeguer. He's ridden all the way around the outside into turn 7 though to take this race lead, doing exactly what he has to do, Kiko.
He really does. Oh, Peter Bishakirski has gone out of the top 5. Don't know where that is. That bike is being wheeled away though. Where is the rider? Hopefully he's up and okay.
It looks like it's down around turn 7
yeah,
area.
Looks a bit like that.
turn 3 actually for Pete out of this race. At the front of the field though, it's suddenly a 3-man dice, and you can see for Alonso Lopez, he's closed right onto the back of second position now, so he's right there with Lucas Tulovic. And once again, just like what we saw in race 1, these 3 riders closely grouped in the early stages of the race. This is when Tulovic really does need to dig in, make sure he manages that tyre well, make sure he manages his pace and stays with the 2 Boscoscuro bikes, because you can see here for Alonso Lopez, he's going to try and make the move into turn 1, try and get himself right down on Tulovic, leave no option for Tulovic. Really good riding there for Alonso Lopez. He's got plenty of experience in Moto3 World Championship level, but this is his first time in a Moto2 bike. He's taken to it well.
That's very, very good. I mean, he just let it roll into turn 1 there. He just let the brakes off, slowing his speed all the way in, and he just managed to pull it down and still made an apex faultless on the exit. And now he's in second place, and it's a carbon copy of this first race, really, at this stage. If you're just joining us, Moto2 has changed since last year. We've got a proper battle at the front this year. Any which way, 3 ways it could go here. So exciting.
Yeah, and Adam Norridon actually doing a much better job in this race to be able to stay with the leaders in the opening stages. He's about 2.5 seconds back, so he's not going to be a factor in the battle out in front, but at least he's been able to find a little bit of pace compared to this morning. But the leading 3, they are the 3 that we expect to be the title contenders this year, and certainly right now the 2 Boscoscuro bikes look very strong. Fermin Aldeguer, race winner this morning on the number 54 machine, under pressure from Alonso Lopez. In race 1, Lopez made a mistake, and that's what opened the door for his teammate on the final lap. Now he really needs to try and get off his winning mark here in the Moto2 class.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is that, you know, Lopez, he made a mistake, but it wasn't a mistake where it's cost himself a podium or any points at all. He still had a solid start. It was 20. He's only 5 back of Aldeguer. He's just back of Aldeguer right now on track, as you can see. He's going to look to try and maybe slipstream his way. Bit of a moment there onto the straight for Aldeguer. Will Lopez be able to draft by? Will he do it by the line, though? That's the important. Very close, not quite.
We saw him make the move into turn 1 last time around on Lucas Tulovic. He's going to try and do the same on his teammate.
Let it roll.
And he manages to make it nice and easy there for Alonso Lopez, and he's been able to take this race lead. We move into the second half of the race now, and Tulovic has started to lose that little bit of ground now. Last time around he was 0.7 of a second slower than Alonso Lopez, so he is starting to drop his pace, whereas the 2 Boscoscuro bikes still should be able to maintain theirs. But certainly Alonso Lopez, he's the man with the red mist after that opening lap, and he's been able to really use it well during the course of these early laps. He would have learned an awful lot from Aldeguer in race 1, not in terms of what his teammate did, but just in terms of what to expect from Aldeguer. So that's why he wants to make sure he gets his head down and tries to attack, open up a gap as early as possible. But if you're Aldeguer, you want to make sure you're able to try and just get that bike down the inside, force Alonso Lopez to know that you're going to be there all the way through this race.
Yeah, and the thing for Lopez as well is that he probably wouldn't have made his way to the front this quickly had Tulovic not interfered. And Tulovic, yeah, he's dropping off a little bit, but he's still there or thereabouts, about 0.6 back from second place. So Lopez now leads Aldeguer, and Aldeguer gets his chance to study. And that's important, and that's why Aldeguer was able to have that kind of killer instinct in the final stages of race 1, because he knew exactly where Lopez was stronger, weaker, and he knew where his own skills were better as well.
Yeah, the one thing for Alonso Lopez is vastly more experience than Fermin Aldeguer. Of course, Aldeguer with a lot of experience in the stock 600 class in the Moto2 series, but for Alonso Lopez, he's been racing on the World Championship level. He's been podium man in World Championship front row starts. His speed and his talent isn't in doubt. He's just found himself forced back to the CEV Moto2 class, and now he wants to make sure that he shows everyone just how fast he can be. You see that bit of a bobble on the entry into turn 1 for the 21 of Lopez. Last time around, though, they were once again able to pull out another few tenths of a second on Tulovic. Tulovic is doing well just to keep in touch, but he's right on his limit to stay just within shouting distance of these 2 race leaders.
And Tulovic is always very fast in the first sector. It's the key sector for Tulovic. I mean, he's 3 or 4 tenths quicker already than they are than the 2 ahead of him. But for Tulovic, it's just he's got to relax, and this is something he didn't do in race 1. He's only 20, he's a little bit inexperienced. He's got more experience on Moto2 than both of the riders ahead of him now, and he's got to use that as well. He's got to use that 1 year more, 2 year more that he's got on that bike, and make that count as the final 2 or 3% that he's missing at the moment. We're coming down to turn 7, which is where he crashed out of contention in race 1.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter too much with Tulovic, because the 2 Boscoscuro bikes are just faster. Those 2 riders seem to be able to do a better job right now.
They're far more consistent.
very consistent all the way through the weekend, and you can see with Alonso Lopez, he's been super consistent all the way through the weekend. Qualified in the front row of the grid. Fermin Aldeguer has been very, very impressive all the way through. He's got his tail up, he's confident. He went to the Moto E testing Jerez a couple of weeks ago and surprised everyone with his speed. He's only 16 years of age, and he's really been able to establish himself right from the outset here in the Moto 2 class as being a rider to watch. That's the kind of thing that you want to see from any of these riders stepping up from the Stock 600 class. I think everyone thought Aldeguer had speed, but I don't think anyone was expecting him to be able to do what he's doing, regardless of whether he's on the team and the bike that won the championship last year. He's doing a really good job to stay here with Alonso Lopez. Much more experience for Lopez.
This is Adam Norridin at turn 1, just missing the apex a little bit, but another solid ride from him. Then it's Tiger Harder, Kubo. This is back up the track. This is Sam Wilford, who's got Alex Skrieg behind him. That's the top the top super stock runner, which more or less is a top R6 runner actually. Behind him is Vidoya. Then Mika Perez is the next stock 600 rider. And those of you who enjoy World Supersport and Supersport 300 will know that name, Mika Perez. He's been around a little while. Little mistake there from Skrieg, but back at the front, it's the 21 versus the 54, Lopez versus Aldeguer. This is where Aldeguer has been strong time and time again, and we said it in race 1 that we felt like he was sandbagging a bit. We felt like he wasn't going to push on. He didn't want to show his cards too soon, and it's where Lopez hasn't been as strong. And like we said, turn 6 might be the best opportunity for Aldeguer if this is the situation with 2 or 3 laps to go.
Yeah, that's where he took the race lead in race 1. He might well have to do something similar now in the final third of this race as well, because Alonso Lopez, we saw him make a mistake in race 1. Now he has to learn from that. We saw Lucas Tulovic around this point in race 1 lose ground and then lose the rear and have a big crash. He's lost ground again now. There's around about a second between himself and second position for Fermin Aldeguer. So we are suddenly down into a Boscoscuro battle once again for the race victory. Tulovic needs to just settle himself in, get through the final 6 laps of this race, pick up his 16 points and move on to the next round in Valencia. But right now we are in that outright battle for the race victory between the 2 Boscoscuro bikes. And you can see there Alonso Lopez on the 21 leads the way, but Fermin Aldeguer keeping him honest, half wheels down in towards turn 1. He wants to just make sure Alonso knows that he's there. Kiko, given what we saw in race 1, Lopez is going to know he's there.
I think he knows. And the good thing with Lopez, he's got a lovely style in the braking area. He's kind of gradual. There's no like big jumping on the brakes. He's very gradual. He lets it roll and he lets it just kind of the bike to do its thing. And he's got a great feeling with that front end at the moment. Having said that, Aldeguer, his style is working just as well. So the good thing is we've got contrasting styles, and both of them Boscoscuro bikes work very, very well overall, but both are working in different sectors. This is where Aldeguer is very strong, but you can just see he's a little early on the brakes. I think he's sandbagging just a little bit, and you would with 6 laps to go. You don't want to show yourself, show your opposition how you are and how strong you are too soon. And don't forget, Lopez has had to come from a long way back. He's not studied Aldeguer closely. Aldeguer is studying Lopez very closely for the last few laps, 4 or 5 laps. So it's a win-win at the moment for Aldeguer. He's just got to make that move.
Yeah, for the 54, he's using a lot less track everywhere. He's not quite pushing on. He's not trying to set the pace right now. He's just happy enough to sit there behind his teammate, number 21 of Alonso Lopez. But with 5 laps to go whenever they cross the line, this is suddenly where you do need to start thinking about where you're going to try and be aggressive, where you're going to start making moves. You can see there for Aldeguer, though, once again, just taking that tighter line. Lopez trying to run around the outside in quite a few corners, but certainly for Lopez, he'll know that he's going to get an attack at some point from his teammate. But for Lopez, it's all about making sure you're able to set those consistent lap times all the way through. He's done that again, another low 1:42. He's around about a few tenths of a second lap after lap. So it really has been nice consistent pace from Lopez, but he hasn't dropped his teammate Aldeguer.
He's not dropped his teammate at all, which makes me think that Aldeguer has a bit of pace at the moment. He's got something left in the locker, whereas Tulovic, I feel like he's on his absolute limit. Having said that, Aldeguer, a little bit of a moment there into turn 3. His teammate went wide anyway. But again, contrasting lines. We've seen Lopez take a bit more of a sweeping line, and we've seen Aldeguer take a bit more of an acute line. So let's see what happens. Like you said, Steve, he's losing a lot less track. This is where he's strong. He's got a great run. If this was the last lap, he'd definitely be sending it up the inside, but he doesn't need to. There's 5 laps to go, and at the same time, what is the point in risking something this early on if you just lose all of that progress and have to do it all over again, and which by that time, the rider you've just passed knows where you're strong.
Yeah, the key corner is always going to be turn 4 around this track. If you exit that well, it sets up the move into turn 6 at the end of the back straight. Out in front, though, Alonso Lopez hasn't put a foot wrong since that bad start. He's been able to pick his way through and find his way up to the race lead. Fermin Aldeguer doing a really good job of keeping him honest. Tulovic, he's just losing that little bit of ground, and he's just got to find a little something now in the final third of this race, the number 3. He has a turn of speed that the other guys don't have. We saw that in the qualifying session yesterday whenever he dominated the session with one fast lap right at the end. So we know that if he's able just to find that little bit of a sweet spot, he might be able to close right up. You can see there Tulovic on this lap has managed to close up. And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that Aldeguer just isn't trying to push for that ultimate time. He's not trying to make sure he hits the race lead.
Back-to-back 41.8s for Tulovic, and that is quicker both laps than the 2 Boscoscuros. This is unknown territory. He's down has gone Burnett. I think that looks like turn 4 to me, but this is a replay of the accident. Let's see. Yeah, turn 4 is going to flick it in. The front end will wash out at about... Oh no, is he running on? Has he got a problem? The front end did wash out, but he'd already gone kind of in the gravel by that point. So Burnett, very unlucky. But back to the original point we was making about Tulovic. Oh, Tulovic has made a mistake here, so it's kind of a bit redundant now. But this is unknown territory for him. He didn't get this far in the first race, so maybe he has got pace in this second half. But it looks like he's made a mistake himself, probably at turn 3.
Yeah, for Tulovic now, that is the game done. He's not going to be able to get himself back up to these 2 race leaders. You can see for Aldeguer on the 54, he's trying to just make sure he holds that station behind Alonso Lopez. Lopez is trying to set a good pace right now, but it's always easier to be the rider that's doing the chasing. Aldeguer on the 54 able to do that right now. He's able to put his bike just wherever he wants to be able to try and close up on Alonso Lopez. Lopez trying to be a little bit defensive in a few places. There's only 3.5 laps to go. Suddenly for Alonso Lopez, this is where you start to think about, I was leading on the last lap in race 1. I made a mistake. Aldeguer is going to keep pressing all the way through.
The thing with Lopez is he doesn't really know where Aldeguer is strong. Okay, he has a little bit of information from race 1, and he'll be able to hear his teammate's bike in the braking areas and know where he's strong, specifically turn 6. But he doesn't know exactly where on the track is Aldeguer faster than me, and what do I need to do. He'll know turn 6 it's an overtaking hotspot. He'll know that to expect something, but it's whether or not it's in the braking area of turn 6 or in the actual slipstream. And Stu goes Tiger Harder on Adam Norridin. That is the battle for 4th.
Yeah, and out in front for Aldeguer, it's all about what he's going to be able to do through that opening sector. He holds those different lines through these couple of corners, and that's what sets him up nicely. You can see for Tiger Hadid just getting himself straight back down the inside there on Adam Norridin. These have had a good battle all the way through this race. Norridin, of course, podium man in the opening race of the season, and they're just battling it out to try and hold on to that top 4 spot. But you can see here for Aldeguer, he's closer than he has been up to this point, but he sits up early. He's just waiting and biding his time, and certainly right now as it stands, he's just letting Lopez know that you're going to be under pressure. You can see here for Tiger Hadid certainly putting the pressure on Adam Norridin. Norridin now relegated down to 5th position. For Tiger Hadid, he's got to just try and just get his head down now and try and stretch away from Norridin.
Yeah, the thing with Tiger Harder here is that, you know, I feel like he's got better late race pace than Norridin. It's whether or not he can do the last 2.5 laps without errors, if he can do them faultlessly. With this battle at the front, this is a carbon copy of what we saw in race 1. The 21 is leading with just a few laps to go. We've got the 54 chasing. Lopez versus Aldeguer. The dynamic in this team at the moment, after race 1, is that Aldeguer's got the upper hand and that he's faster. Lopez won't want that to go to Valencia. He will want to put one over his teammate, or at least put up a strong fight.
Yeah, the big thing is they're now going to start to come up on lap traffic at the end of this race. There's a few stock 600 riders to come through. So for Fermin Aldeguer, he wants to make this move early. Not able to do it there. So again, we're seeing it where he's just easing off. He's not really being aggressive at this stage. He might well want to leave it right down to the last lap. This is the Tiger Hadid and Adam Norridin battle. It continues to wage, and we're going to have that all the way through until the end of the race. If Norridin Lawson's able to just run this mistake free. It looks like he was in a bit too deep into turn 1, but this is a good battle now for a top 5 position there. In 4th spot, Taiga Hada. This is out in front. You can see the 21 of Alonso Lopez. The different lines through this section. This is down in towards turn 4. This is where you need to exit strong if you're Al Djeir. This is where you can set up your move down in towards the hairpin. Is he close enough? Is he going to try and make the move? We've seen him sit up the last couple of laps in the run down in towards turn 6. And again, he's done it again as well, so he's going to leave it right until the last lap. Which
is dangerous. I mean, if they've got traffic to come, it only takes one bit of traffic to get in the way, and they're coming up to a really technical part of the track, and there should be enough space. Alonso Lopez is pushing on. You can tell Alonso Lopez is really trying to put the hammer down. What a battle we have got here in 2021 in Moto2. It is going to be between the Boscoscuros. This is a key area. Aldeguer is not faster than Lopez in this sector. This is where Lopez is strong. But if he's leading at this point, then you've got to think that maybe he's got it in the bag, because I don't see a way through for Aldeguer. We're coming up on lap traffic. This is the final 2 corners of the penultimate lap. Next time around, it'll be the last lap. But in what order will these Boscoscuro riders be in? Will it be Alonso Lopez leading, or will it be Aldeguer? Don't forget, Alonso Lopez has had to come from 11th. He got a shocking start. Aldeguer was leading by that point. Last lap time.
Yeah, for Alonso Lopez now, he needs to make sure he avoids a mistake. In race 1 this morning, he made a mistake into turn 6. You can see the traffic that's in front, and they're going to have to come through 3 stock 600 bikes on this last lap of the race, and that's going to be a big challenge for them. Alonso Lopez on the 21 knows that he's going to have to be clean. They've cleared 1 already, two of them already, so at least now they should have a clear run through to turn 6. For Firmin Al Djeir, you've got to make sure that now is the time to try and pull the pin. This is when you've got to try and be aggressive through turn 4, set up the move down in towards turn 6. You can see for Al Djeir, very different line compared to Alonso Lopez. He's going to try and make sure he maximizes the exit, uses that slipstream, sets the move up. Alonso Lopez made the mistake into turn 6 in race 1 this morning. He's a little bit slower now than Al Djeir. Al Djeir is going to get the run down in towards that corner. You see running all the way up onto the curb for Lopez. That's going to allow Al Djeir to get through, and Lopez is going to just try and hang him out to dry now.
And he did.
And he has managed it, but Al Djeir now has the chance to get back on that tight line. Al Djeir on the 54. He won race 1 by taking the lead into turn 6. He's done the same on the exit of turn 6 this time around. Lopez needs to attack into the chicane. I don't think he's close enough. I think he's just going to have to just dive down the inside and Al Djeir.
It's going to be do or dive, and he's going to dive.
And he's going to try it, but Al Djeir is going to try and just hang it around, and there's contact between them. And you can see for Alonso Lopez manages to make that move, but for Firmin Al Djeir on the 54, he now needs to really try and get as close as possible. Use that slipstream. On the Moto2 bikes, we don't tend to get that slipstream on the runs to the line. This could be Alonso Lopez's time to claim a Moto2 race victory. It's been a while for Lopez to win a race, but for Al Djeir, race winner in race 1, going to try and use the slipstream. Is he close enough to use that toe? Don't think he is. It looks like
he's going
to do it. He uses the toe. Unbelievable stuff from Al Djeir. You can see Lopez. He bangs the tank in frustration.
Oh dear.
Al Djeir with the double. Norridin's going to hold on to that 4th position for Taiga Hada. What a race between those 2 Boscoscuro bikes.
Incredible. And what was we saying? The dynamic in that team, Alonso Lopez. I honestly thought if he had gone through at the chicane, which he did, it was done and dusted. But Aldeguer, the 16-year-old, on his Moto2 debut. It's a double for Aldeguer, and that is a story that has set the tone for the season. We are going to see a Boscoscuro battle right until the end. The reigning champions, okay, they were speed up last year. They are Boscoscuro this year, and they have absolutely bossed it in Estoril. Top job by both of them, but Aldeguer, 50 points out of a possible 50. What a way to start his season.
Yeah, really impressive from Al Djeir. Takes the win by 0.03 of a second from his teammate Alonso Lopez. And for Al Djeir, he was able to exit that last corner really strong. He used the slipstream. I honestly didn't think that he was close enough across that line. These Moto2 bikes tend not to be able to make the runs to the line, so Al Djeir does a really good job to be able to maximise that and take the race victory. It's a perfect 50-point start for him in his Moto2 career. Alonso Lopez, he'll come away from this with 2 podiums, and he'll certainly feel that it was 2 missed opportunities, but at least he's got 40 points. He's only given up 10 points, and when we head to Valencia in a few weeks' time, it's a track that he knows really well. This was his first visit to Estoril in a long time, and certainly he'll feel that at Valencia he's going to be a lot closer to being able to pick up that race victory. He's done a good job to come away with 2 second-place finishes, though. Luka Tulovic able to come away with 16 points for a podium here in race 2 and come over from the disappointment of that crash in race 1. And certainly for Tulovic, he rode a really good race in race 2, but just didn't quite have that pace of the 2 leading Boscoscuro bikes. And for Aldeguer and for Alonso Lopez, they looked like they just had that extra turn of speed in race conditions all the way through this weekend. But Tulovic with the pole position and a podium, at least he's got a few positives to take from the opening race weekend of the season. But for Firmin Aldeguer, he's got 2 big positives to take from this weekend. He beat his teammate in a straight-up fight for both race victories here in Estoril. And the number 54, he was in the Stock 600 class last year, ended up winning the Stock 600 subclass. But now he's on a Moto2 bike and he's been able to jump on it and be immediately incredibly competitive here in the European Moto2 Championship. And for Firmin Aldeguer, it's just going to confirm what people have been saying about him over the winter, that he's got that potential, he's got that speed. And certainly with the back of what he's been able to do in the Moto E testing, he's going to be a man to watch all the way through this season, whether it's in the CEV Moto2 Championship or whether it's in the Moto E Cup. You can see there for Alonso Lopez, gets commiserated there by his team. He'll know that this was 2 opportunities that he could have picked up a race victory. Instead, he's picked up 2 podium spots. He's not going to mind too much about that though as well, because after the last few years, it's been a tough slog for him in the Moto3 World Championship. At least now he's able to get back to battling for race wins and standing on the podium. But he's going to definitely feel that at Valencia he needs to answer back and make everyone aware of just how good he can be. See Luka Tulovic there, looks like he was having problems with the front end during the end of that race, but able to come away with 16 points for a podium spot, so not bad for Luka Tulovic here in race 2. That is Firmin Aldeguer down there celebrating as well, as fan club here as well. Actually quite a few of them staying in the same hotel as us as well, family members. And for Aldeguer, he's been able to back up what everyone's been saying about him recently with these 2 race victories. Kept a very cool head for a 16-year-old kid to be able to take that race victory. And you can see here into that last lap down in towards the chicane, Aldeguer just trying to hold that outside line. There was contact all the way through. Lopez had gotten himself in front and it looked like he might have done just enough, but through that last corner, have a look at this, Aldeguer able to carry just a tiny bit more corner speed onto the start-finish straight and able to use that momentum all the way down the start-finish straight. That's what 0.03 of a second looked like, and that's the difference between being thrilled if you're Firmin Aldeguer and being disappointed if you're Alonso Lopez. But the Boscoscuro team able to come away with 2 1-2s from the opening 2 races of the season, and the team that dominated last year with Jari Montala are certainly looking like they're well placed once again in the 2021 season. We're going to get the chance to hear from Firmin Aldeguer down in Parc Fermé as well in just a couple of moments time. He'll be down talking to Kiko just to get his thoughts on this race victory. And on the back of what we've seen from these opening 2 races, he's certainly going to feel that he's going to be a contender all the way through this season. He's got a little bit of experience in the Moto2 Championship, but it has been on a Stock 600 bike. It's a big step up to the Moto2 class, big step to suddenly being expected to be a race winner. He's lived up to the billing here at the opening rounds of the year. Certainly for the Boscoscuro team, they're going to feel that this was job done for the opening races of the weekend, opening races of the season. And here in the Moto2 Championship, consistency can be the key, and you certainly don't want to give up too much ground. And the 2 Boscoscuro teammates closely matched all the way through this weekend. Luka Tulovic has given up quite a few points as well over the course of this weekend. 34 points adrift after the opening 2 races of the year. He knows that he's going to need to pick up race victories to be able to close that down. He's yet to win in the Moto2 Championship, so certainly for Luka Tulovic, when we go to Valencia in a few weeks' time, he'll want to be able to pick up his first race victory in the class. But let's hear from a man that's picked up his first 2 race victories in the Moto2 European Championship, Firmin Aldeguer down there in Parc Fermé with Kiko.
Firmin Aldeguer, a second win and another stunning battle with your teammate. How do you feel?
Yes, I'm very happy because this race was more difficult because Alonso had a very good ring, and in the last lap I touched with him, but unfortunately for the victory, and I'm very happy, and thank you to all my team, to all my sponsors and my family.
And in Spanish?
Bueno, esta carrera ha sido más difícil que la anterior porque Alonso tenía muy buen ritmo y bueno, en la última vuelta he tenido toques con él, pero bueno, afortunadamente he conseguido la victoria y estoy muy contento gracias a todos mis sponsors, a mi familia y a los que me apoyan.
Fermin, see you in Valencia. Well done.
Thank you.
Really good effort all the way through today from Fermin Aldeguer. Let's see the story of race 2, where he came through from second on the grid to claim his second race victory of the season. There you have it, Fermin Aldeguer able to pick up a perfect 50 points here from the opening 2 races of the season. And for Aldeguer and the Boscoscuro team, this really has been a perfect start to the season. Alonso Lopez able to come away with second position here in the second race of the day, and Lukas Tulovic able to come away with his first podium of the season.
Race 2 of the
so now we wait for our podium men to get them way up there, and Fermin Aldeguer, 16 years of age, Kiko, jumping onto a Moto2 bike for the first time and doing things like this. Very impressive stuff.
It's very impressive. In fact, it's almost unbelievable. I think Aldeguer has a very, very big future ahead of him, as does Alonso Lopez. If he continues like this, we're in for a sensational Moto2 season.
Yeah, for Lopez, it's all about trying to build himself back up after a few tough years in the Moto3 World Championship. But you only get to the Moto3 World Championship if you're fast, if you're talented, and if you race well. So certainly for Alonso Lopez, he's going to feel that there's a lot of confidence for him to take from this weekend as well.
Yeah, there's plenty of confidence. You know, this is his first time in Moto2, and he's done a relatively good job, and he's been fighting for the victory on the last lap in both races. I look forward to Valencia. If this is the case for the whole season, we are going to see one of the most scintillating battles I think we've seen in Moto2.
Yeah, this is a very different Moto2 European Championship than what we had over the last few years. This looks like it's going to be very competitive, even if we've had Aldeguer pick up a perfect 50 points for 2 wins out of 2. But for Fermin Aldeguer, just shows just how fast he can be. He showed that potential last year in the Stock 600 class, and now he's really been able to bring that to fruition on the Moto2 class. He's going to get the opportunity once again to hear the Spanish national anthem for the race winner.
to Fermin Aldeguer.
So there are our Moto 2 podium finishers, and certainly they'll look forward to Valencia in a couple of weeks, and for Alonso Lopez the opportunity to try and make sure that he's able to answer back his teammate Fermin Aldegier's 2 race victories here. They'll only have 1 race next time out in Valencia, but for Alonso Lopez it is a track that he knows well, a track that he's gone well at in the past, and that'll be where he'll try and make sure he can answer back. But for Fermin Aldeguer, this is a perfect start to his Moto 2 career, and you can see there for the Boscoscuro team celebrating that as well. And this is what it's all about as well, Kiko, a real opportunity for these riders to establish themselves in Moto 2.
It is, and it's an opportunity, you know, for the next generation. We saw last year's champion, Jari Montella. He's gone off to the Moto 2 World Championship, and deservedly so. And I think that the Boscoscuro team will keep churning out this talent, and they will keep refining this talent so it is ready for the real world stage.
Yeah, you can see the championship standings there. Aldeguer, perfect, 50 out of 50, 10-point lead. And Adam Norridon, after having his first podium of his Moto 2 career, he backed it up with a 4th place finish in race 2. He's 3rd in the championship standings. We're going to have the opportunity for these riders to be back on track in a couple of weeks' time, and it's going to be really interesting to see who's able to find some improvements to be able to close that gap down in the Boscoscuro boys. But really, right now, they look like they've just got a step in hand. Here's our Stock 600 podium, and obviously last year was the likes of Fermin Aldeguer that was up on this podium as the Stock 600 champion. And once again in this race, it's Alex Esrig that's been able to pick up the race victory. Mika Perez up there as well, and Leon Orges up there as well on the Stock 600 podium. So here's our Stock 600 standings, and Alex with a perfect 50 out of 50. Mika Perez up there in 2nd spot, 20 points back on his Stock 600 debut here in the CEV class. And then Leon Orges with 3rd position as well. He's got 21 points to make up.
Yeah, it's all a bit close for the Stock 600 battle for 2nd. But in general, Alex Esrig, with the Red Bull Rookies experience, we expected this kind of form.
And Kiko, we're obviously going to have Valencia in a couple of weeks, a lot to look forward to.
We have so much to look forward to across so many classes, Moto 3, Moto 2 and ETC. Steve, I can't wait.
Yeah, I definitely can't wait. It's back on May 9th, so 2 weeks' time. We're back in Valencia and back to see whether or not Fermin Aldeguer is able to find a new challenger as well. For Alonso Lopez, he'll certainly look at Valencia in 2 weeks as his chance to get back in and amongst it as well. That'll be the next action in the FIM CEV Repsol Series.